Studio Conveyance, sitting here at Rich and Poor in East Point, Georgia. I wanted to sit down, and what I'm doing is basically documenting my experience coming from Chicago back here, finding out how I move and shake as far as business-wise, like I did in Chicago, but more importantly, to document the people, the relationships, and the people that I come in contact with, such as yourself, who are proprietors, business owners, entrepreneurs, trendsetters, trailblazers, all that good stuff. So without further ado, I want to actually just kind of have some conversation with you, candid conversation about who you are, what your thoughts are, what your business is, some of your background, and more importantly, what's this great place that we're in right now, and what are some of the reasons why you created it and produced it and continue to do that. So without further ado, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, so to your point, I'm Richard Dillard. I'm a serial entrepreneur here in Metro Atlanta. Been in business for more than 20 years.
Congrats.
Here recently opened up what's called Rich and Poor, which is a upscale, opulent lounge in East Point, Georgia. 2 minutes from Atlanta's Hartsfield Airport, maybe the same distance from Tyler Perry's studio. The concept behind the Rich and Poor experience is that we wanted to showcase a lot of the live acts in the metro area. Atlanta is fosters a lot of talent, right? Whether that be vocalists, musicians, poets, and the like. But they didn't necessarily have what I felt was the appropriate housing. So from our standpoint, we wanted to create that, right? We wanted to create an opportunity for all this talent to be seen, showcased in a upscale vibe, right? So I took it upon myself to open up Rich and Poor maybe 7 months ago now.
Congrats again on that.
Congrats again on that. I appreciate that, man. Yeah, it's our first time in this sector. So as I alluded to earlier, I'm a serial entrepreneur and have businesses along with my brothers who come in and take over the actual running of the properties and ownership that we created. Mm-hmm. But nonetheless, so we came in here maybe 7 months ago. I bought the property. So one of the businesses I'm very heavy in is actually acquisition of real estate.
Okay. Tell us about that.
Well, one of the things about real estate for me, and history would attest, is that there's more millionaires been made from real estate than made anything else in this country. And I think one of the major ways that as black men and women can foster legitimate legacy is by acquiring, acquisition, and ownership, right? You have to own things in this world, right? You can't just buy things that have no value to them as terms of assets. Mm-hmm. So one of the things I done to kind of establish legacy is I will find real estate property, commercial real estate property preferably. I would acquire it and then go in and create a new business for that space, right? And what helps us in that is that, once we come into a space, we already know that the team that we have revolving around the things that I buy is very tight-knit. So I feel comfortable working with my team, and that any sector we go into, I know that if someone was to ask me in 5 words or less, what equates to success? How do you become successful? And my answer would be, it's all in the team. If you have a sound team and everyone's playing their position, then it's very hard to fail in business. There's no one man that does it all. There's no need for one man to do it all. It's just like in sports, right? I think that most people can be successful entrepreneurs and taking the same route that I take, right? Just come together if necessary, but I put up my own capital to purchase a building. I will kind of listen to the building, what it is, what's needed in that space, what's missing, how can I add value to this real estate. Mm-hmm. Same thing with Rich and Poor and several other businesses that I own. But anyway, with that, I come to my team, my brothers, and I share with them the vision of what I feel like we can do with this space, and we'll work it, right? I create enough next egg in that space that where if several months we're not making revenue, it's fine. I've already put capital away as we go through our learning process. But once it catches its own buzz or its own flame, then becomes more for us is to make sure we're managing it and running it appropriately. And that's really where my brothers come in. They're much more skilled than that than I am, even myself. So I have a strong team, and that just helps.
I appreciate you bringing that up. I say that because there's tiers and levels to entrepreneurship. Do you want to be, the adage says, do you want to be a mom and pop shop or do you want to be a Walmart?
So for me personally, my attraction, I was born to do this.
Okay.
And I really mean that, right? You have some people who are just, they genetically inclined to jump high or run fast, or, some people won the genetic lottery and they can play music by ear. Mm-hmm. I was really born to be a businessman, thick and through, right? But for me, I think one of the closest way to be the God is by creating. And I use business as my landscape, as my canvas to create. So I am not married to any particular sector of business. What I want to do is create businesses, so that me and my team, my brothers, we can foster together, right? So the whole mom and pop idea or the Walmart, I don't see either one of those as my strategy, right? My phone, we got to turn that phone off. I'll turn it down.
I edit this.
Okay, we'll come back to it. Can you mute it? Mute the ring.
What's going on, bro? I apologize for sitting down.
No, you good, bro. Good to see you too.
I'm joking. Okay. I'm gonna ask it again.
So when I edit, I can see that spike.
Oh, okay. Ask the question again.
So, yeah, to continue on that, you say you were born to be an entrepreneur.
So, some people,
a businessman.
well, yeah, but entrepreneurship is really that is my lane.
True.
I was doing it before it was a cool thing to do. This is the only thing that I know. I remember trying to get what you'll call traditional 9 to 5 and work inside of a office building in a cubicle. And it was a slow, painful death for me. And I mean that intensely, right? It was very difficult for me because my mind does not operate in that realm. It doesn't think that way. There's nothing wrong with that. But for me, right? Now, some people are genetically inclined. They jump fast and they run fast. They jump high and they run fast. Well, they run a genetic lottery in that way. Some people may play music by ear. I don't have those skill sets. But I see business and I see numbers a little bit differently than maybe most people do. This is what I was born to do.
Well, it's funny you say that. I make a joke with people that I'm damaged good to the corporate world.
Damaged good in the corporate world, okay.
Damaged goods.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. Yeah.
I was an engineer and did all that stuff. And I, like yourself, felt like I was killing myself painfully every single day because of the bureaucracy of working in the corporate world or the stagnancy of the glass ceiling. I appreciate you saying that because there's some people out here that are young. They're going into what their profession may or may not be, and it's good to hear from you to say that I was born like this. So this is not something that you have to think that you're not good enough for, because that's a piece too.
Well, listen, I think it's very important, even at this point, to even suggest or to say that, listen, I'm an average C student, right?
Good job.
So, right, so I wasn't the guy who graduated first of class or any of those things. This wasn't. And I had more failures than success in business. But even with that process, I've learned what not to do.
Yes.
Right? So it's building blocks, and it's not a get rich quick. I took the steps, not the elevator. So it wasn't a get rich quick thing for me, right? I really learned every single day, and I studied my craft, business. I study craft. I can have a financial conversation with the best of them because I understand the language and how it all works.
Experience is the best teacher,
Every
as I
time.
say. Yeah, there's no substitution for it. Can nobody do your thinking for you, as they say, and experience. So how has this affected your children?
Well, so to the point that I have small ones, and there's formal education, and then there's entrepreneur education, and I like to believe that.
Let's speak on it.
Right, I try to give my children both. From early ages, I would write simple contracts out and explain to them, well, we're gonna have this contract. This is what this is gonna mean, right? And then bringing them to business with me so they can see the processes of what their father does in each sector, right? And I'm also an uncle, so the businesses that I have and my brothers run for me, their children are able to see what we're doing. It's a family thing, right? So one of my favorite people is Keenan Ivory Rains. I mean, this man created a large table for his family to eat off of. And he did it in such a way that he didn't outshine them or any of that. He positioned them, right? He put everyone in position to eat. And that family's going to eat for a long time in Hollywood. And that's unheard of, where a black family became that influential. It just doesn't happen very often. And so watching storylines like that, it gives me the idea, like, man, this is very much possible. But you don't have to do it in just one sector. You can do it in multiple sectors. But everyone has to understand their position and play that part, right? And I think that most people can be successful in entrepreneurship. It only requires certain things, right? One is a level of discipline. Right? And I think oftentimes what happens is when you may come out of a more corporate structure, you have the tendency to do just enough. Well, entrepreneurship does not allow that. When you're in entrepreneurship, you are full-time in every position necessary for the growth and development of that business, period. All right?
Just to put a pin on that, and the reason why I'm saying that is because, like you said, like I said, there's no substitution for experience. That's one thing, and then your kids learn by doing.
Correct.
All right. So my daughter, shout out to Chloe. Daughter, right? So she went through it with me.
Right.
In addition to that, they taking real good notes, whether you know it or not. There's kids out there too. This is why we're doing this, because your parents or your brothers and sisters may not be on the same page as you, but you still, back to your point, you need a team. So I just want to put a pin on that, because so many times we have family members and we can't get together to do things, and then we say that, well, my family not doing it, so I don't have to do it. No, you can have extended family, but you still must do it.
To your point, I think that one of the things I learned, again, I've been in entrepreneurship my whole life, and I come actually from a fortunate experience in that our father is one of your favorite hustlers, right? So I was growing up in a household from my father, our father, and my mother, where my father specifically, it was more push. Like the idea of getting a job, what are you thinking? This is how you speak to me. What are you thinking?
Dad.
Right. To the point where I was ashamed if I looked at an application to work at a fast food restaurant as a high school student. Nah, that's not gonna work for my household. Although I didn't know necessarily what I need to be doing, I knew what I need not to be doing.
Good job.
Right. And nor did I have the experience where in all the years of trying to create a actual viable business, did my parents say, you need to go get a job. I didn't hear that. It was always encouragement. Well, keep pushing. But I think I was offered that grace in that I wasn't the guy who was twiddling his thumbs and talking about all the things he wants to do. I was actually in execution. It's just the execution was not giving me the results that necessarily.
Returns.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Over time, they did, right? But I think there's a couple of key things that happened for me. One is change of thought. And what I mean by that, I remember that one of the most pivotal parts of my personal growth and development in business happened when I shifted my concept from the me perspective to the us and we perspective, right? When my interest was not how much money can I make, it's about my ecosystem. How many people can I positively influence in what I am trying to do? If there's any nugget that I would share with anybody who's listening to this podcast, focus on the ecosystem, not you personally. Because this is what happens. Like, people have this tendency, and I hear the term all the time, I'm chasing the bag. But it's natural law. It's happening at all times, right? Anything being chased, the mindset of the thing being chased is to run, right?
Away.
Run away, right? So you don't chase the bag. You don't chase a woman. You don't chase. What you want to do is be the antithesis of the thing that you desire. So if it's money that you're wanting, that you want to acquire, then you have to ask yourself, what is it that money is attracted to? Well, those would be things like, in my opinion, financial stewardship, right? If I'm money and I'm asking myself, what would my role be if I was in the company of this person? Would they know what to do with me? Would they just hoard me? Or what are they going to do? Are they going to grow me? It's currency. So I hope that this person not thinking about just covering me and just burying me on the ground because I'm not being in my space of currency. I'm not moving, right? You have to think about what that thing is that you desire, and then put in the work to actually achieve it, to get there. So that's important to me. That was one of the very first pivotal changes that I had in my thought process.
That's good to mention. Shout out to Master Key System. I was reading this passage, part 23, and it talked about being of service.
Okay.
And I, like yourself, came to that realization some time ago too.
Yeah.
And what that meant was not only being of service, but being of service to the multitude. And then before you be of service, you want to really think about what your intentions are first.
Sure.
Before you be of service.
Sure.
So that was the other caveat, that bringing in rich and poor. This is how and why I'm here right now. I came to your space. I met each individual brother individually.
Right, okay.
Right?
Okay.
So, and I didn't even know, even the young lady that told me about this spot. My point is that I came to this spot because when I spoke to you guys, I knew you guys was of service.
Yeah.
Whether it's the decor, to the feeling, to when I spoke to you guys. And I say that because I wanted to continue to build an environment where service is the culture of the environment and the people that's in the environment.
So,
for example.
Yeah, I think to piggyback off of that, like, you have to understand, like, me and my brothers, we are, we come from the same gene pool. We say, we grew up in a home together. So kind of the men that we are, most of those principles we hold were principles that we learned from childhood up, right? And we're totally different people, the three of us, but there is a certain level of agreement that we can find on things of high matters, right? And I think it goes back to, just putting people in the right position. So, case in point, like if you have a basketball team, you have, a 7'4" kid who doesn't necessarily have the best footwork, cannot dribble a ball, but as a coach, you put him as the point guard of your team. He's fell into that position, and then your first response, he doesn't know how to play basketball. No, you had him out of position, right? Because he's still 7'4", So he may be a presence inside the interior of that paint on the defensive side and on the offensive side, but you had him playing point guard, and that's not his primary. That should not have been his primary position, right? So understanding how to put people in position to succeed is important, right?
And to manage them.
Yeah, correct.
Because that's the part of management.
Correct.
And managing yourself to know that you're not the right person to do that job, and to put somebody that's better or more experienced in that position. And that is the most important thing that I learned. And it saves time, it saves energy, it's efficient, and more importantly, you learn. Let the right people do the right jobs for the right reasons.
When you brushing your teeth in the morning as an entrepreneur or as a business leader, you better be able to look at that person in that mirror and recognize their strengths as well as their weaknesses, right? And promote the strengths and find areas in other people to bring in to help minimize the weaknesses. And that's important. And I know that my brothers have totally different skill sets than I do. And they can do things that I'm just not as fluid in, right? But I know that they are. And there's a level of trust there that cannot be undersold either, right? I feel comfortable in knowing that when each of us task another one with, hey, can you take care of this, that, and the other, it's a certain level of assuredness that that's going to be taken care of, right? Or when we have sit-downs with one another, we can have tough talk all day long, because it's sharpening us, it's strengthening us. And even with me, you know what I'm saying, they're going to let me know I'm like, nah, you need to be doing this differently. Like, that's how I'm seeing it. And I'm definitely going to them and asking questions. How do you see this? Give me your perspective on it, because their vision and they're more fluid in other areas, like I suggested. And so they're seeing things like totally different than I can. And that it's like Voltron. You know, you put all those pieces together, it just make you stronger.
And I'll form that
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, rich and poor, let's get back to that.
Poor.
Because this is a space that is obviously built out of love.
Absolutely.
And a lot of energy and thoughts. And I think of this space, and I told you, I wasn't apologizing, I think the last time I came here. I thought of this space as creating an environment for entrepreneurs to come, to be a part of a group, so they can come and talk shop, do what they need to do, but also know that when you talk to somebody, they know that they have the ability to help them.
Yeah.
And so you're rich and poor. I know you said something about the entertainment piece. You talked about the many facets of talent that's in Atlanta. So it had to be burning in you to build this space.
So again, you know, when I suggested, like, the closest I feel like you can be to God is by creating. God created the heavens and the earth, right?
Good job.
So in that likeness, I want to create. And let's care, if you had seen this space prior to the acquisition, it was an eyesore, right? And most people looking at it without, you know, probably should have been tore down. But not me. There's this thing that I say all the time, and all the paintings inside of Rich and Poor suggest that in the imagery, but there's a vision that does not require sight. So as a creator and as a visionary, I can see things very clearly of what they can be if done. Same thing in business, like, you know, that's what businessmen do. They create something that was not there before to something that is, and it's profitable, right? So that's just all in creation, and then this space is no different. So what you're seeing right now, when it was not this, when these walls were pink and these floors were mustard, it was eyesore. But that's not what if these eyes, I saw the same thing. But these eyes, I saw something totally different. I see what you're sitting in now. And so all thing I had to do was like almost tracing the thing out. And here again, the ecosystem. Because my ecosystem is large at this point, from just working in several different businesses, the level of support from friends and associates, there would be times, and I had paper on the wall, paper on these windows, then you couldn't see in or out, But it'd be knocks at the door, and I open the door, and it's one homeboy after another homeboy, like, yo, what can I help? How can I help? So with most of this project, we didn't hire contractors. We did it with these hands, right? My brothers, and every day we coming in here and we don't have construction backgrounds at all. Right?
Making it happen, man.
Making it happen. Just following the mental blueprint of what was possible. You will see luxury cars just parked all the way up and down the street. Well, these are guys who are successful, right? But I was able to show them different ways of being successful. I'm always open for those type of relationships with guys who've shown themselves to be committed to me as well. And so seeing all those luxury cars, them taking the time to come in here and to assist in this project, oh man, it was a additional reminder that black men do work well together, and there's nothing like a vision and execution. A vision and execution together,
it's beautiful.
It's a beautiful thing.
It's natural laws.
It's natural law. I was sitting here for brunch. So we had brunch on Sunday, live entertainment from 2 to 4, at the time of this recording at least. And sitting at the bar, walking into the bar and seeing my youngest brother and my middle brother sitting at the bar having conversation. And I come in and join them and have a mimosa and have amazing brunch, and then for our father to walk in, and it wasn't coordinated. These things aren't coordinated. It's just I'm just going up to rich and poor, right? And to think to myself, like, look what we've created. This is available for us anytime we want to, and I don't know very many people who are blessed enough to have an extraordinary relationship with their siblings, so much that they hang out together, they travel the world together, and they work together, right? And the things that we have and created, other people are able to enjoy in that experience as well, right? So the rich and poor experience is just that. It is an experience that really is filled with love. It's a genuine love. Again, I'm not chasing money, right? And the development of the concepts of what the rich and poor experience is to be started with a whole feeling and vibe. And I wanted that vibe to be something of opulence, right? So I wanted people to walk in and immediately see, and even the walls and everything is textured in here because I want you to literally feel the experience. I want you to feel it. Not only just see it, but I want you to feel it as well, right? And so the concept of coming in here into an opulent space and seeing people who look like you and I on stage or in a management ownership position, and knowing that it was very intentional to not offer just a spot that sold drinks. It's not that, right? No, we don't have experience. We're only 7 months old. I've never even worked in a restaurant or bar in my life. But I know in my mind what I want to present, and I know that I have a team, hence my 2 brothers, who can make sure that's executed as well. So the rich and poor experience is much, much more than just a spot to get a drink. It is for you to come in and really experience what visionary execution from men like this actually looks like and feels like.
That's a good segue, man. Just a good segue to see what your team look like.
Yeah.
And to bring them in and hear what their thoughts are. Before we go, though, I do want to champion the fact that you and your brothers work together, and you're doing it in a way where you can see how naturally like each other.
Yeah.
Give me that. I have a brother.
Okay.
Shout out to my brother too. So, and we close as far as two. So my point is that I think this has to be showcased, bro.
Yeah.
That was the primary objective of why I wanted to do this, and cancel the misnomers about people can't work together, family members, and all that good stuff. So once again, man, I want to give your roses to you while you're alive, while we're in a space and place right now. And yeah, it's a good time to bring your brothers in and find out what they're thinking about.
No doubt, definitely.
What they bring to the table too.
Definitely.
Okay.
All right.
Cool. Thanks, bro.